your business been overwhelmed with data? Is technology disruption making it imperative for your business to go digital? And as digital transformation starts with data centers, have you been perplexed as to which data center strategy to adopt and how to align the technology and business goals? If these questions resonate with your business needs, then you have reached the right place at the right time. Because we have some illustrious guests on the panel today who will explain how you can devise the right data center strategy. On the panel with us today, we have Mr. Subhojit Roy, IT Head, SBI Funds Management. We have Mr. Krishnan Venkateswaran, CIO, Titan Company Limited. And we have Somas Kandan, CTO, DCDR Infra. As you can see on the screen, CIOReviewIndia is a technology magazine published from Bangalore. It serves as a platform for CIOs and CXOs to share their views and learn from each other's experiences of new technology adoptions. Our mission is to take the technology discourse to the next level where the inferences are directly actionable. All right, so without any further ado, let's begin the session. First of all, I would like to invite Mr. Subhojit Roy, who will explain the evolution of data center security. Over to you, Mr. Subhojit.
Data and data center are the two primary drivers for the growth in economy in the technology sector. So, and data center is the centerpiece of everything. And there's a tremendous evolution in terms of the compute and the networking capability, which has resulted in the a very, very large, significant growth in data center space. So if this diagram or graph shows the evolutions in 1960s to till today. So if you just talk about today, so some of the very, very significant technologies which are driving the data center growth is one is obviously on the hyperscale data center, which started a few years back, maybe 200 odd companies, big tech companies like Google, Amazon, and Facebook started with hyperscale data center. Today it has gone to across the globe, maybe already 800 to 1,000 hyperscale data centers. These are massive giant data centers, hyperscale with distributed computing, which today we can see. And on the other Indian and other customers front, you see a lot of technology advancement has happened. One of the primary technology advancement in the data center space is the convergence of the infrastructure, which has given a lot of benefits to the entire data center in terms of management, in terms of simplification, in terms of power to deliver, right? And the other front is that software-defined data center, along with the software-defined network, software-defined storage. So entire data center is being driven towards a software-defined architecture. So where the three major pieces are automation, orchestration, and abstraction. So these are the three pieces which are driving the entire software-defined data center. Ultimately, aim is to make it, because things are becoming very complex, big, but ultimately objective is to make it simple. So that is also the main purpose of software-defined data center. Then obviously we are talking about hyper-converged infrastructure, which is HCI we're talking about. So again, the aim is to make it simple so that most of our time is not going into the managing the data center, which is traditionally used to be. So now once we are either on-prem or cloud data center, how to manage it efficiently more with the AI and ML kind of piece, and so that we can make it more agile and more faster in terms of provisioning and scaling up and scaling down. So obviously cloud is a big piece which is happening for last few years. And in the recent times, especially in India and other countries, so cloud emphasis is picking up with this COVID situation where digital delivery and agile delivery, flexible delivery, on-time delivery, because entire business is going on the digital platform. So cloud is really triggering that kind of growth for the various types of companies across the globe, across the sectors. So proliferation of IoT devices, again, this is a big trend which is going to shape the future of data center. I talked about converged infrastructure already, software-defined data center, including software-defined security. So because one of the emphasis of today's discussion is security. So how the security is becoming a critical piece of the data center from the customer's point of view, from the data center's service provider's point of view. And the future is going towards the orchestration, automation, and DevOps for the managing the entire data center and the technology stack. So containers, like we started with the virtualization with some of the leading OEMs in the virtualization space on the server virtualization and other virtualization. Now that has gone to the other level called containers. And so that has become more technology friendly and more user friendly, and how to make it much agile, much better. So container is also going to play a big role. Already advanced flash storage is playing a big role. And obviously, as I talk, privacy, protection, entire data is becoming the key challenge. It's challenge for everybody today. So most of us now need to have some kind of a cyber security framework in a company, in a data center, so that it guides you in the correct path. So one of the most commonly used framework is the NIST's framework, okay? National Institute of Standards and Technology, USA, is a very well-known body, and they have a lot of frameworks, a lot of materials in their site. So if you are really keen to know on various technologies, policies, framework, you must visit NIST sites. All the resources are available free. So one of the most popular framework is NIST framework in data security. So it talks about 5 major domains, which are listed here, shown here. Starting with identity, then is a basically logical progress of domains. Identity, protect, detect, respond, and recover. How the things happen in the same logical order it is structured. So you need to start with identity. You should know what are your assets, especially when you're going to the cloud. It's becoming boundaryless. When you are in the on-premise data center, you have a fixed boundary, physical, logical. The moment you are going to cloud and you are accessing your application data from anywhere at any time, so it is becoming boundaryless. So the new concept has come, the zero trust framework, which is going to be the norm in future, because today there's no boundary, neither data center nor office, nothing. There's no boundary, physical boundary. So in that case, identity is very critical. You should know which are your assets, which are your data, and how to protect that. And there is a framework for that. So, and again, the framework changes when you move from on-premises to cloud journey. So entire business environment, you should be aware. And obviously everything has to be on the top, led by governance and risk management. So if you look at most of the companies today, especially in the financial sector, banking and other financial services, risk management and compliance is becoming very, very heavy and very, very critical, because many of the regulations are coming in place, because with the opening of the entire infrastructure, entire business model on the digital and cloud platform, risk management is the key driver for most of these companies, so that the sustainability of the company is achievable. And on top of that, you have to have a governance model. How do you really govern the data center? How do you govern the risk management? So logically, next corollary will be the protection. How do you really protect? So before protection, you should know what are your assets, what is your boundary, how to protect, which is your roles and responsibilities. Especially the roles and responsibilities become very blurred when you go to the cloud. So it should be very clear what is cloud service providers' roles and responsibility, and what is the end customer's roles and responsibility. So once it is known, then only you can protect through the access control mechanism, data security mechanism, okay, various protection technologies, policies, processes, kind of thing. You should, so that give a protection. So, but end of today, everybody has to accept that at any sometime you may be attacked, you may be breached. So you should be always be equipped with the response and recovery part also. That also becomes very, very critical in today's world, because nobody can tell confidently, I won't be attacked, I won't be breached. So there is going to be breach attack, but you should, so while you should be able to protect and detect, you should be equally capable to respond and recover so that you don't get this attacks, breach spread across in a large scale. You should be able to mitigate or halt the progress. So respond and recovery is becoming a critical part of your entire exercise. But at the same time, you should be very careful in cloud security management, because in cloud also, it's not that some of the school of thought is that once you go to the cloud, entire security is the responsibility of cloud service provider, which is not true. There should be clear-cut definition of responsibility and roles between two parties, user and the cloud service providers. So that's why you need to have this kind of a framework in place. So that is two framework. On the left-hand side, you can say organizational security framework, and the right-hand side, operational security framework. Organizational security is mostly, again, talking about governance, risk control, legal issues, compliance, audit, roles and responsibilities. So there are a lot of complex stuff where you need to involve compliance, audit, risk, and other teams also. And on the operational security, obviously your business continuity and disaster recovery is becoming key. SLAs and vendor management is becoming key. And obviously identity access management, entire thing is becoming key. Because again, here, who is responsible for what? What identity access management you have with you, which is available with service provider. And on top of that, awareness, okay? And so, and in the middle path is the core data information security, application security, infrastructure security, and physical logical security. So this is a broad framework, which is again accepted mostly in the Indian banking and financial services sector, which I am trying to demonstrate here. So you should have a long-term plan. So you should have a very clear-cut roadmap, which may be 3 to 5 years roadmap in terms of information technology or information security technology implementation. It will be a combination of pure technology, real use case implementation, and also policies and procedures, and how skillfully the people are really able to manage. So here I have in 3 buckets, I am trying to show you some of the standard, some of the hygiene which you must have, then standard, some advanced technology which are coming into play. So today, PIM, privilege in identity management, is becoming a really sort of must have for any company. Today, anybody, any privileged users coming into a network should go through PIM, which will give him the authentication, authorization, and also have an audit trail today, because single sign-on is a very convenient method today, but it is have a lot of threats also. So you should have a proper single sign-on kind of technology. And most of the data today is in cloud. Many companies are using Office 365 on the Microsoft platform, OneDrive. So every company's data mail is on the cloud. So data leak is becoming a concern of the technology and risk management teams. So how you protect that data leak of the customer data, PII data. So that is, and with BYOD. So, okay, so today endpoints are available, everything is available endpoint, but you need to protect data and customer information and your proprietary information. So these are becoming really very, very challenging tasks for the information security professionals. So I have seen a lot of collaboration today is happening between the information security team, technology team, and also business teams. Today they were becoming aware. So there is a trade-off between convenience and security. So that challenge will remain, because business users always look for the convenience, while the technology information security team look for the control. So that conflict or challenge will continue, but a lot of evolution is happening in that space. So is some kind of compromise are happening, so which will really protect the interests of the company and interest of the resources of the company.
Invite Mr. Somas Kandan, who will explain the nuances of enterprise computing and IT automation. Over to you, Mr. Somas.
During those days, the 3-tier architecture been mostly adopted by our customers, organizations. The main objective of that 3-tier is, to achieve high availability, in turn, which made them to buy an external storage. Nowadays, everything goes towards software defined. And just to achieve this high availability alone, why should a customer or an organization to buy an external storage? right? Which increases the cost, which increases the footprint of your data center. Still, all those things are needed to avail high availability, right? So now during this era of software defined, storage also can be virtualized, and already we have slots or spaces in the server itself. So why don't we make use of them? That is when this HCI technology evolved, and now you can have all the features of an external storage can be achieved in hyperconvergence from the virtualization hypervisor layer itself. So with that, your data center footprint, a three-tier architecture, right, which comprises of server, storage, virtualization, which occupies, 8 to 10 U of your rack space, becomes now just 2 U. In a 2 U footprint of a box or a system, right, you can have maximum of 4 nodes. Each will have 2 processors, up to 1 TB or even more of RAM, and then internal storage of 20 to 40 terabyte also can be achieved. So with that, your data center or your infrastructure becomes in a 2U system. Thanks to HCI, there are many good features are available with this. The entire thing, your server, your compute, your storage, your network, all those things can be managed from a single dashboard. That is the key advantage of HCI. There are leading, industry leading, OEMs or principals which has come out with this HCI technology, right? The pioneer Nutanix, VMware, vSAN, and even Microsoft has come out now this one. The HCI market now, it is around $7 billion of business, which is expected to grow 18 billion in next few years, meaning before 2025. So that is the kind of adoption been, there is a value to these customers who are all adopting HCI, right? Which will definitely help you, not only protecting your instances, meaning virtual machines, and also when you go for a DR, business continuity plan, this HCI enables the DR or replication also being part of this hypervisor so that you don't need to depend on anything. So there is a flexibility, there is a EC, there is no complex in having a DR site when you go for HCI. So benefits includes, total cost of ownership becomes less and increased performance, and it increases the productivity of the IT teams also. See, there are routine workflows on a daily basis in the data center, right? In like scheduling tasks, monitoring, maintenance, delivering applications, or do some troubleshooting with your applications. There are routine activities being carried out in a data center on a daily basis, right? Which needs your administration or administrator's intervention. So now there are possibility of human errors there, or miss outs. So to avoid all those things, there are technologies available, there are tools available to automate all these activities, so which help you to increase the operational efficiency, right? And it increases the agility also. One of the key thing is in data center is protecting your data, right? So now data is not only your data, also your infrastructure, meaning instances, right? And application OS. It starts with operating system, then on top of that application, and then data. So now you have option of protecting your data alone, right? Which will lead you to recover the data, but there will be a time consumed to revoke your infrastructure, which is a time consuming option, right? Rather now the technology is available to protect your entire infrastructure, meaning the instances can be protected as image on the same premises or outside your premises. It could be outside your office, in your remote branch offices, or even in cloud. So how do we automate this? Traditionally, there are third-party backup softwares or native applications, native log shipping, those technologies being used. But a single tool, right, through which you can protect your data, you can replicate your data to other site. And the key, very important point here is not just protecting your data. The question is how sure it is available when you restore the data, right? That is very important. You take backup and keep it, but what is the assurance or what is the guarantee that the data is available as it was backed up during restoration? That is very important. So with Veeam, the proven technology is available. You can completely automate this complete data center data protection activities. So start from taking backup in the on-site or a remote site, or protecting your or replicating your infrastructure to a remote site or cloud. The entire activities can be automated, and you can do a DR drill also. When there is a failure in the data center, right, you have to up the services and allow users to access from the DR site, right? So those things can be automated using Veeam software. The third one is, automating your applications. That is a very key important thing. As like you provision your virtual machines, you provision your instances, right? Using virtualization software, you can do. Similarly, there is a huge task in the data center happening in terms of delivering that application. Application lifecycle management become very easy with COM, right? COM software from Nutanix. With that, you can achieve this application lifecycle management. You can completely automate the entire lifecycle of an application, starting from coding stage till delivering it to the users, and customize it, go live, test it, and again customize it, right? All those activities, this one. Using COM, it is as easy or as simple as downloading an application from a Google Play Store, right? Now everybody is aware of Google Play Store. Whenever there is an application, they go search, and then similarly, you can give you a Play Store or App Store to your organization, right? And host all those applications which is supposed to be delivered to your users, right? And then allow them based on their roles and responsibilities to do a self-service, which will help you to enhance the productivity of your users. They don't need to depend on the app team or IT team. As and when required, right? They can go and download that application as per their credentials, as per their authentications, roles and responsibilities. They can start using those applications. The fourth and final one will be AI or machine learning, artificial intelligence and machine learning. The buzzword been in the industry for some time, and the people or organizations started adopting artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, data science, all those things. But it is very simple. Every application or every portal which you use today, or every services which you get from various organizations to the consumers or to the customers, now involved with AI. Now in IBM Watson globally, they have pioneer in this technology. They have been doing a lot of customization or development or research in this AI and ML. In fact, they are the pioneer in this. And now, especially for the health benefits of IT automations, you can align and do a productive job to, or services to your end users, speed of delivery, overall cost reduction, and it reduces risk. It is very important, right? In terms of automating your IT, the human errors can be eliminated to the maximum, right? That is the key factor here, which obviously enhances your business productivity.
Shift our focus to the retail sector, where the line between brick and mortar and e-commerce is getting blurred, and it is witnessing a high demand for data centers as well. So we have with us Mr. Krishnan Venkateswaran, who will explain how retailers can devise the right data center strategy for their business. Over to you, Mr. Krishnan.
One big imperative, like Sudhakar just mentioned, omnichannel, combining the digital and the physical experience, and in general, enabling the customer to enjoy such a uniform experience that the distinction between digital and physical just goes away, right? You just pick up from where you left off, and it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in the store or at your home or anywhere. So that's omnichannel. Personalization is another very, very intense activity that all retailers are looking at and doing very seriously. The whole point of personalization is very, very timely relevance. So, for example, if you take jewelry, can I greet your spouse on your birthday in time for him or her to buy you something? Right? That's just one use case, and there are so many use cases across retail products of how we can personalize the outbound communication so that it makes sense to the customer, it's relevant, and it's timely. Deep analytics, like Somas just mentioned, the application of ML and AI is extremely intense across industries and very much so in retail, not just in customer engagement, but also in merchandising, in manufacturing planning, in many areas, just to know what's going on. And in fact, in today's COVID scenario, being able to project sales has become so difficult. And so therefore we are very, very intensely using analytical tools combined with data that we are getting from at least the more reliable sources on the spread of the infection and the likelihood of lockdowns and so on. Factory 4.0 automation is a topic by itself, right? And depending on the products that we manufacture, the intensity of this could vary. So for example, watches in our business is highly automated, whereas jewelry is still a karigar kind of expert handmade profession. So the best pieces of jewelry are still made by hand, though of course there are many other pieces of jewelry in which the level of automation is much higher. Customer engagement, yet another topic, and across live chat, chatbots, WhatsApp, there are so many tools available, and social media, of course, so many tools available to customers and to companies to engage with each other conveniently and make it a pleasing experience for both. Augmented and mixed reality. Now again, if a customer cannot visit a store and she would like to see herself in our jewelry or wearing our spectacles and sunglasses, how can she do it? So for example, at Titan, we have augmented reality virtual try-on. The retail industry is very keenly looking at AR and mixed reality to enable customers to have the kind of experience that comes closer and closer to an enjoyable visit to the store. And the intention here is not necessarily to substitute. It's very, very difficult to substitute digitally the experience of a beautiful sari or a garment or a piece of jewelry. The idea here is to also enable the customer, for example, to shortlist what she would like to see, create a wish list, and then visit the store for a very efficient 30 minutes instead of perhaps being there for 90 minutes, right? So again, safety is a consideration. There are retailers whose intent may be not as wide as, let's say, that of Titan. You might be following a business model in which you're sourcing from other players and selling it to customers. So in which case, many of these components may not be applicable for you. We are a full service manufacturing and retail organization, like I just mentioned. And so therefore, we need the complete architecture. And the architecture is not just at manufacturing locations, but also includes connection with our valued partners, our manufacturing partners, our vendors, our supply chain partners, as well as, of course, our franchisees who run so many of our stores. So this representation is one of the industry standard ways of representing, very easy to learn, but very, very important to draw out so that the intent is captured as concisely and comprehensively as possible before we go ahead to design our infrastructure. If you look at the left side, so as a choice, do you have a retail store or not? Or are you planning to sell and deliver entirely digitally, right? So there are many retailers who sell items of daily use who have managed to very easily convert themselves from a supermarket oriented shopping experience to a completely web and app and home delivery based experience. I mean, we are all buying things electronically now, and I think it's been weeks or months since I touched a shopping cart physically, and I'm sure that's true of many of you as well, right? So while we may be digital, you may still have a decision point on whether you would like to have a network of physical retail stores as part of your strategy. And at Titan, we absolutely believe that the retail store experience is vital to our products and to our customers. So now if you look at a retail store as a computing unit by itself, it needs to be reasonably independent, right? At least the basics of billing have to be supported locally, and a certain level of edge computing as well. So for example, store security, video analytics in different contexts would need local computing power so that it can be fast. It's not always possible to connect to the cloud and be able to deliver with that kind of speed. And if you're a supermarket and you have a queue of people with trolleys and each trolley has 40 items and your checkout person has to simply zip people past, it's going to be very difficult for your infrastructure to rely on the cloud. It has to be local to that particular billing point and POS. Hence the graphic which I have shown. Right. At the same time, you need to take care of a connected architecture, because every retailer has loyalty as a very key element of engagement and customer strategy. So for the customer to be able to use her accumulated points to be able to buy something is vital. And those points cannot be stored in every retail store. They have to be on the cloud. Because a company like ours, you could buy spectacles, jewelry, watches, and accumulate points for all of them. So, and in fact, it's a family loyalty system. So the number is the same for the family. So one part of the family could be shopping for jewelry, while other members of the same family could be shopping for watches. So naturally, the loyalty system has to be on the cloud. And so therefore, connectivity is very important. But at the same time, local functionality also. Today, given the way networks are, in fact, for several years, the distinction between the physical data center and the cloud has kind of vanished for the users. It's only the technology team that knows the distinction between the cell phone data centers and the cloud. So if you take, for example, my colleagues who use their manufacturing systems, the actual infrastructure is far away. And there is connectivity which has become more and more reliable over the last several years and decades. And so therefore, as far as they are concerned, they have been on the cloud for a very long time, right? So that distinction you need not worry about at all. The point is self-owned versus outsourced, so to say. And even among outsourced, there could be options in which the infrastructure is provided, including power supply and racks and so on and so forth. But servers are your own, what is called co-location, versus going on the cloud completely. So many global choices are available. And so the considerations for those choices are also dictated by the earlier diagram which I showed, and the technology sourcing options that you have decided to go for. So let's take, for example, a CRM system. Today you have choices, and there are excellent CRM systems that work totally on the cloud, and they are pay as you go. So if you're not very large retailer and you don't have a very large number of employees, then that kind of CRM would techno-functionally and commercially make eminent sense for you. But if you're an extremely large player, then you may find that the annual cost of pay as you go is itself becoming high. And so therefore you may look for other options. So there are ways of arriving at the right answer, but again, the right answer may hold for a certain period of time. And where the question remains the same, the answers may need to change. And so between all of them, the data strategy has to be very clearly and carefully thought out. Which data is lying where? And if you want to be able to drive deep analytics well, then you may say that, yes, it is inevitable that certain parts of the computing have to happen in certain places. But how do I then bring back and aggregate all the data into one place where I can implement holistic analytics and then send the results back? So very, very important to draw the diagram very carefully. Choices are available today. Many of the choices are mature enough in terms of being almost plug and play. Obviously, it's an implementation cycle, but the kind of complication that used to be faced years or decades back, many of them are actually vanished. And the combination of IP addressing and HTTPS has given rise to the great API architecture. And so therefore, if you're able to functionally design your architecture well, you will find that the right APIs almost suggest themselves and your integration architecture becomes that much more simple.